Kevin Stefanski feels like his job may be on the line?
I don't concern myself with outside type of things, but I'm committed to his development, just like all of our rookies. So we'll continue to focus on getting our guys better, and that's what we'll stay committed to, and that's what's important to me.
And so you didn't get this man a fighting chance to compete. He went into a gunfight with 2 knives. He gonna lose that every time.
You know you're going to waive Tyler Huntley. So what good did that 2-minute drive do for him? Was it going to help him? Don't you think Shedeur would have benefited more from a 2-minute drive than Tyler Huntley?
Coach Kevin Stefanski is no longer in control of the story. He's caught in it. The weight of expectations, the roar of public criticism, and the uncertainty surrounding Shedeur Sanders have combined to put him squarely on the defensive. What should have been a steady hand guiding a franchise through preseason turbulence is now a man struggling to explain himself, struggling to hold the trust of his own locker room. After the game, the Browns made a stunning move. Several offensive linemen, men who had shared the field with Shedeur, were waived. Others saw their contracts terminated outright. It was a shakeup that sent shockwaves through the fan base, a decision that only intensified the scrutiny surrounding Stefanski's leadership. The timing, the optics, the message, it all felt like the walls were closing in. The breaking point came in the form of one simple but devastating question. Why was Shedeur Sanders pulled before the crucial 2-minute drill? It was a situation tailor-made for the rookie quarterback to showcase poise under pressure. Instead, Stefanski turned to Snoop Huntley, a late signing, a quarterback viewed by many as nothing more than an emergency placeholder. Stefanski's answer, delivered in a shaky voice, with tension etched across his face, didn't inspire confidence. He insisted Huntley needed those snaps, that it was about getting him tuned up. But to those watching closely, his tone told a different story. He sounded rattled, defensive, a coach cornered by his own choices. And that's where the narrative began to unravel. Snoop Huntley was never expected to make the roster. He wasn't part of the future. Yet Stefanski put him in at the expense of Sanders, and now the decision looks like a symbol of something larger, a plan that's backfiring. The pressure is real, the backlash is fierce, and for the first time, it feels as though even Stefanski himself can sense this entire situation slipping through his hands. Before we dive deeper into his full explanation and what it reveals about the Browns' fractured quarterback strategy, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe, because this story is far from over.
And did you, I'm sure you kind of answered this last night, but why didn't you keep him in for the 2-minute, or why did you decide to take him out?
Yeah, nothing more than decided to give Snoop.
When criticism comes from the outside, coaches can often shrug it off. But when it comes from a man who's walked the same halls, worn the same uniform, and knows the weight of Cleveland's colors, those words cut deeper. That's exactly what happened when former Browns wide receiver T.J. Houshmandzadeh took the stage and let loose. Houshmandzadeh didn't sugarcoat it. In his eyes, what Stefanski has done with Shedeur Sanders isn't just questionable, it's unprecedented. He said, in all his years of football, in all his time around coaches, he's never once seen a leader actively not want a player to succeed. But here, with Shedeur, it looks personal. And when a respected veteran says that, it changes the conversation entirely. He called it what many fans have already whispered, bias. Plain and simple. A coach playing politics with a rookie's future. And for Houshmandzadeh, that's a line no coach should ever cross. His warning was blunt. If this narrative is true, if Stefanski truly is holding Sanders back, then the Browns won't just be facing questions about their quarterback room. They'll be staring down a storm of pressure to fire their head coach. For a franchise desperate for stability, that's the last headline they want hanging over them. But with every snap, every questionable decision, and now every public critique from former players, the pressure grows louder. And in Cleveland, the echoes of those words are impossible to ignore.
The fans gonna be saying, Shedeur our quarterback. Shedeur should be our starter. Shedeur should be the guy that starts game 1, week 1. Look what he did. They didn't want that to happen. And I don't know what's going on with Kevin Stefanski. It's almost as if And I don't even want to say this, but I'm gonna say it anyway.
And it certainly did. Stefanski's body language told the story his words never could. The slumped shoulders, the hollow eyes, the voice that cracked under the weight of scrutiny. He didn't look like a coach in command of his team. He looked like a man fighting to keep his job. Every gesture, every pause, carried the weight of a franchise teetering on the edge of another self-inflicted collapse. TJ Houshmandzadeh didn't stop there. He reminded everyone that this wasn't the first time Shedeur Sanders had been treated this way. He pointed back to the very first preseason game, when Sanders played nearly flawlessly. The throws were crisp, the poise unmistakable. And yet, in the aftermath, Stefanski refused to give the rookie so much as a nod of acknowledgement. Not even a word of praise. It was silence where there should have been validation. Now, after yesterday's events, the pattern feels impossible to ignore. Instead of backing Sanders, Stefanski appears intent on shifting the blame onto him. Every questionable substitution, every excuse in front of the media, it paints a picture of a coach desperate to prove himself right, even if it means making his rookie look wrong. Houshmandzadeh took it a step further, voicing what many fans had feared to even whisper, that maybe, just maybe, Shedeur Sanders was set up to fail from the very beginning. That his setbacks aren't the natural growing pains of a rookie quarterback, but the result of a system designed to undermine him. If that's true, it's not just troubling, it's damning. And in Cleveland, where patience has long run dry, it could mark the beginning of the end for Stefanski.
It's like he don't want Shedeur to do well. Like when he played well the first game, he was so off-putting, like, oh yeah, well, we'll see what happens next. Like, he should, he played great, man. He exceeded our expectations. He didn't say none of that. And so to me, it's as if they want him to fail so they can justify doing what they want to do.
And TJ's assessment is spot on. Kevin Stefanski's bias wasn't something that emerged overnight. It was evident from the very first preseason game. On that night, Shedeur Sanders put together a performance that should have silenced doubters. His reads were sharp, his accuracy undeniable, his poise unmistakable. It was the kind of debut that leaves a city buzzing, the kind that makes even seasoned veterans raise their eyebrows in respect. And yet, from Stefanski, nothing. Instead of praising the rookie who had just turned heads, the coach buried Sanders' brilliance beneath vague, generic comments about developing all of his quarterbacks. It was a dismissal dressed as diplomacy. But to anyone listening closely, it was crystal clear Stefanski wasn't genuinely interested in seeing Shedeur thrive in Cleveland. Now the irony is unmistakable. The same coach who once criticized Sanders without justification, the same man too rigid to even acknowledge his rookie's breakout moment, is suddenly shifting his stance. Under the mounting weight of fan outrage, Stefanski is backpedaling, claiming he will focus on developing Sanders. But it's less a promise of support and more a desperate attempt at damage control. And the pressure isn't just coming from the fans anymore. Journalists, analysts, and former players are all weighing in, dissecting every move Stefanski makes. The consensus is damning. His decisions are not just questionable, they're sabotaging Sanders' trajectory. One analyst, Ocho, put it bluntly, by placing Sanders on the field alongside offensive players who weren't even roster-worthy, Stefanski set him up to fail. It wasn't about ability, it was about circumstance. Ocho even went as far as to argue that not even Tom Brady, in his prime, could have looked good behind that patchwork lineup. And if the greatest quarterback of all time would have struggled, what chance did a rookie have? Shedeur's struggles weren't a reflection of his talent. They were the inevitable outcome of a system stacked against him. And if that's the case, then the real question isn't about Sanders at all. It's about whether Kevin Stefanski still deserves the right to lead this team.
What a COVID year, so it gave everybody an extra year if you wanted it.
Understandable. But listen, it's
what the chat say? The chat. Well, who the chat believe he took a shot or no?
Let me look in the chat. I ain't even open my phone. Hold on. I'm curious to see what the chat would think. They are saying
Ocho made a chilling prediction. He warned that sooner rather than later, the critics on the Browns' payroll, the voices tasked with protecting the organization's image, would begin their campaign to tear Shedeur Sanders down. They'd write him off as nothing more than a fifth-string quarterback, a wasted draft pick, a failed experiment. But in doing so, they'd deliberately ignore the truth that Sanders was placed in a no-win situation designed not to highlight his talent, but to expose his flaws. A setup masquerading as evaluation. According to Ocho, this wasn't just about development. It was about destruction. There were people, perhaps even inside the building, more focused on dismantling Sanders' reputation than on fostering his growth. And while he was right about Shedeur being set up to fail, Ocho underestimated one thing: the reaction from the fans. Because this time, the Browns aren't getting away with it. The backlash has been swift, fierce, and relentless. Across Cleveland, from sports talk radio to social media, a rallying cry is echoing louder with each passing day. Fans demanding Kevin Stefanski's firing. Not just for questionable play calling, not just for poor roster management, but for something far more damning: clear bias and discrimination against their rookie quarterback. And Ocho wasn't the only one weighing in. Skip Bayless, never shy about delivering a scorching take, hammered the Browns for what he called the worst possible way to manage a player. He pointed out a dangerous pattern that can no longer be ignored. Sanders hasn't just been mishandled once, he has been mishandled repeatedly. From training camp reps to preseason rotations, every opportunity has been undermined. Every chance to succeed replaced with circumstances engineered for failure. Skip's conclusion was unflinching. This isn't a one-off mistake. It's systemic. And the more the Browns continue down this path, the heavier the pressure becomes. Not just on Sanders, but on an organization whose credibility is hanging by a thread. For Shedeur Sanders, the fight is only beginning. But for Kevin Stefanski, the clock may already be running out.
I'm outraged, I'm sickened, and I'm saddened. By the way, Shedeur continues to be treated in the National Football League, now by those sorry-ass Browns and sorry-ass Kevin Stefanski.
Looking at how everything has unfolded with Shedeur Sanders, the uncomfortable truth becomes harder and harder to deny. This wasn't just mismanagement. It was a setup from the very beginning. The pieces were arranged in a way that made success nearly impossible. And now, with every passing week, that suspicion feels more like reality. Stephen Smith saw it from the start. When Sanders stepped into his very first preseason game, Stephen A. issued a bold, almost prophetic warning. The Browns were setting Shedeur Sanders up to fail. At the time, it felt harsh, maybe even overdramatic. But now, it feels like he was right all along. The evidence is everywhere. A lack of meaningful first-team reps, offensive schemes that seem tailor-made to stifle, not showcase, Sanders' abilities. Play calls that box him in, stripped him of rhythm, and left him exposed. It wasn't the natural adversity of a rookie learning the ropes. It looked like a system designed to make him stumble. And Bush put it in even sharper terms. He reminded fans that Sanders wasn't some entitled prospect expecting handouts. He was the opposite. Shedeur arrived early, stayed late, and went the extra mile to prove he belonged. He was the rookie who did everything right, who embraced the grind with humility and fire. But even then, it was clear Stefanski had no interest in letting him succeed. Every ounce of extra effort was met not with opportunity, but with resistance. Now the fans see it too. The frustration has boiled over into something Stefanski can't ignore. Voices across Cleveland are calling not for patience, not for perspective, but for change. Openly, loudly, defiantly, they're demanding Stefanski step down. To them, this isn't just about a rookie quarterback's rocky start. It's about betrayal. Betrayal of trust. Betrayal of potential. Betrayal of the belief that the Browns were finally ready to move forward. Instead, it feels like the franchise has taken a step backward. And as the calls for Stefanski's resignation grow louder, the one question left is whether the Browns will listen, or whether they'll continue down a path that already looks broken beyond repair.
When they're at practice, Shedeur Sanders is not their priority. When he is at practice, He was staying hours beforehand, leaving hours later.
The controversy swirling around Shedeur Sanders and the Cleveland Browns has evolved from whispers of doubt into a storm of outrage. What was once framed as a golden opportunity for a rookie quarterback to prove himself has unraveled into something far darker, a pattern of mismanagement, a string of decisions that have left fans and analysts alike questioning not Sanders, but the very leadership of this franchise. Voices from across the football landscape have made their positions clear. Former players like T.J. Houshmandzadeh, analysts like Ocho, Skip Bayless, and G. Bush. Each one, in their own way, has pointed to the same truth, that Shedeur was never placed in a position to succeed. Instead of meaningful reps with his teammates, he was surrounded by fringe players unlikely to even make the roster. Instead of play calls designed to highlight his strengths, he was given schemes that left him boxed in. Instead of support from his head coach, he was met with silence, or worse, subtle blame. And that silence has become deafening. The Browns have allowed Sanders' early struggles to be framed as a failure of his own making, with little acknowledgement of the external forces stacked against him. But fans see through it. They've watched a rookie arrive early, stay late, and pour every ounce of himself into proving he belongs, only to be undercut by decisions that reek of bias and short-sightedness. Now, the narrative has shifted. This is no longer just about Shedeur Sanders' development. It's about accountability, about the leadership of Kevin Stefanski, about whether this coaching staff has the vision or even the desire to nurture the future of the franchise. The pressure is undeniable, and it's mounting by the day. Fans are demanding answers. Analysts are demanding change. And the calls for Stefanski's resignation are growing louder, echoing through Cleveland like a drumbeat of discontent. So the question now looms larger than ever. Will the Browns recognize the mistake, change course, and give Shedeur Sanders the support he deserves? Or will this franchise once again bury a young talent beneath the weight of its own dysfunction? Only time will reveal the answer. But one thing is already certain. The clock is ticking, the pressure is rising, and change, whether by choice or by force, feels inevitable. What do you think? Was Shedeur Sanders set up to fail? Is Kevin Stefanski guilty of poor judgment, or was something more deliberate? Should he step aside, or can he still turn this around? The debate is far from over. Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.